Well, go ahead, Aaron.
I was gonna ask you, are we gonna just hop into this, or you wanna do the intro later?
Uh, I don't know. We could
Let's
just
do
hop. What?
let's do the intro. Let's do the intro later, and let's just do like this interview.
Okay. So we'll just go right into it.
Unless you wanted to do it the other way.
Bro, let's just do it right now.
All right, let's go.
I'll put all of this in there, bro. I'm Joshua Potts, Mr. Possible, always with the brother with the same mother, Aaron Potts, Super Hot Potts, and you're watching and listening to your favorite two black runners every single Two Black
Tuesday. Sir, we're back from the Olympic trials. That was a grind, but today is a great day. You see my mood's up. You see how loud I was screaming because
that was loud.
We got a very special guest, bro. We got a very special guest, homie, on the podcast today. Been wanting to have this dude on for a while now. About a year ago, we were debating in the hotel room about 800 meters and stuff, and I was like, I need this man on the podcast, bro.
Yeah, super excited to have the man that we're about to bring on right now. Somebody behind the scenes since we've really got into it too, of going to meets, being there since 2021, and has catapulted himself into someone that's integral to track and field, and especially I have to say in the US, somebody that's involved with Team USA creatively, not just in track and field, not just in athletics, but from gymnastics to skateboarding to all these different sports that he's been able to put his hands in. The director of State of Sport, you feel me? Some of y'all have seen it, some of y'all haven't. Like, this dude has been everywhere and anywhere. He's best friends with Tara Davis and Hunter Woodhall. That's definitely something we got to put on his chart. He is the godfather to Cash, Clayton Murphy and Ariana Murphy's son. We have Alex Andrei, Alex in Track, on the Two Black Runners podcast to discuss a lot of things. Alex, how's it going?
Man, y'all really hype me up.
Hey, man.
Dude, I'm feeling amazing. Coming off of trials, had a quick little bender of like 3 naps in 3 days, and I'm ready to go. Back at it again.
Yeah, and Alex, I just want to say too, you can't say track without Alex. You know what I'm saying? Alex and Track in the building.
Yep.
Just found out, the other day you just announced that you're going to Paris, representing Team USA. Going to be doing photo. What was the feeling like opening up that email, getting that phone call? Do you feel like you made the Olympic team right now?
Yeah, I feel like as far as like, what I'm doing like creatively with like photo and video and trying to like do storytelling in the sport, I do feel like I like made the team. So yeah, just was able to announce that like I'm going to be headed to Paris for 2 whole months with Team USA, with the US Olympic and Paralympic Committee. So I'll be covering a lot of like the behind the scenes of Team USA across all of our sports. But obviously, track and field is always going to be number one. But getting to do that with both Olympic and Paralympic games. So stoked about that.
So all Olympic teams. So this guy's going to be covering basketball, gymnastics, outside of track. I know we're going to get, ping pong.
Who's to say? I don't know. I will say a lot. I don't know a ton about like what my schedule looks like yet. But they are just like, I think as the trials are all wrapped up now, everybody's like, going to figure out, okay, how are the Olympics going to shake out in terms of content that we're making? So we're figuring everything out like this week. And I'm also leaving for Paris in 4 days. So
you're leaving in 4 days?
4 days. Yeah, I'm leaving on, for reference for people watching, I'm leaving on July 12th, and I'm going to be there until September 12th.
That's my birthday, September 12th. Let's go.
Lucky day.
We'll celebrate that in Paris.
Let's go.
That's really crazy. So we'll get more into Alex in a second. I didn't even know that you're a trained pediatric mental health specialist and orthopedic trauma researcher.
And he's a coach. He's a USATF certified, what is it, level 2 coach?
Yeah, level 2. I was the youngest ever at 21 years old. when
The
I did
youngest
that.
ever? Wait, that's crazy. That's crazy. All right, we're gonna talk more about Alex and his story, but we brought up the Olympics. Track and field, as we know, we're booming right now. Low-key, we're booming. We on Netflix. Track and field is on Netflix. We just debuted. Sprint came out on July 2nd last week. And I think it's only right that we have to talk about this. And it was great to bring Alex to talk about this because this is somebody that's since 2021 that's really been involved in video. That's you've done a lot of innovative stuff as well with Clayton Murphy. I know you're really hands-on too, not all of it, but with the Tracktown USA series as well. You've done a lot of documentary type of stuff. We know you're in New York for the press conference, the first presser that they had as well for screenings and everything like that. We didn't get an invite, but it's all good. Box to Box
Damn.
Films, like it's
Yo.
cool. It's cool. But hey, we that's why we brought Alex. That's why we brought Alex on here.
We had him there first.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
so let's go around first. I don't really have like planned questions that much to be honest. But like, what were you guys' just initial thoughts of watching all of Sprint? I think all of us have watched all of it. So we'll start with Alex first. What were your initial thoughts of seeing everything together?
So I had a bit of a unique experience because I was at the pre-screening, and I got to watch episodes 1 and 5 before the series came out, and that was right before New York Grand Prix. But the biggest thing for me is like I went into this series like with my background, I wanted to like be a critic. I wanted to come out like, all right, who are these people coming like from outside the sport trying to tell these stories? Like, how good can they really make it? Like, what is their angle? And why haven't they called me? No, I'm just kidding. But like the biggest thing I want to do is like be critical of it. And seeing like the first couple episodes, watched episode 1 and episode 5 out of 6 total episodes. But my first initial gut reaction was like, I wouldn't have done it this way. Like, it's unique. And I think that is a good thing. I think that it's important that it's different than what we've seen before. It's definitely like taken up a notch. There's intensity to it. It draws you into the stories. And I don't know. I feel like it's hard for me to like be like to look at it from an angle of like the person who's never watched track and field before. Like that's one thing that I'm curious about is like I know all the ins and outs of all the different events, and I can see when like scenes are stitched together from like U.S. Nationals. There's like a cut pulled from Hayward Field that they're trying to like implement in like Paris Diamond League meet.
Yeah.
But like little stuff like that, like I wouldn't think to do stuff like that. So, and for the casual fan, like they're not going to notice it. So I think it opened my eyes a little bit as far as like creative like possibilities and like how to approach like making stuff like this. But like it was captivating. I will say that. Like it was captivating to watch.
The first thing from hearing your response, the first thing I thought about and reflected on, because me and Joshua have similar feelings of we're coming at it like from a track and field purist, perspective. Like we're in the game, in the media game. Yeah. But we're in the media game, you know what I'm saying? Like people make like to a normal casual person, and like when we all bursted onto the scene or started doing what we were doing, there was pushback from, other people in the game. So it is interesting, like you said, to have this new outside perspective. But I agree with you. I think it is important that it is unique in that it's distinctly like its own thing, because it's something that can like build. But I also, I had to take a step back when I first started watching it. I was remembering like, hey, this is for, somebody scrolling Netflix that's trying to be entertained. It's not completely like built for me, but there were still a lot of things that I liked about it. I do think they did like show another side of some of these athletes, and I love seeing the relationship between Sha'Carri and Dennis Mitchell, her coach. I thought that was awesome. And then I also thought about like the perception that it would show to like to someone just casually watching Netflix. Like they're gonna like see Noah and just be like, wow, this dude is just so like eccentric and this watching this made me like appreciate Noah more. And I was like, man, if Noah does do what he says he's gonna do, I think that he's the perfect person to be that person. Like if this dude goes to the Olympics and breaks the world record, or even just wins 2 golds, and
Yeah.
all attentions, that is a person. That is a person I think would be great to have
Yeah.
that attention on. But I definitely have my critiques. But Joshua, what were your initial thoughts?
I didn't like it.
Dang, this dude a hater, bro. I knew
Wait,
it.
can I
This dude just a
finish?
hater.
I
Came
can I
out
finish?
swinging.
I think it was I didn't like it. Like the first 2 episodes, I was like, bro, I'm kind of bored. Like I think it was like especially the first episode. The first episode was good. Like I liked definitely like seeing Noah, but like and like his story in the beginning, and it was cool seeing Marcel Jacobs like go into that. But then like they did the 100 at Paris, and I was like, was that at Paris the first? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I
Whatever
think
that
first
diamond
time we.
was, and they did it, and I was thought like, this is like, it was just over so fast, the 100 meter, and like it didn't feel intense. And I already knew Marcel Jacobs wasn't going to beat Noah Lyles, so it
Yeah.
felt very anticlimactic to me, and it ended. And I didn't really like. I was like, it's kind of, but like I'll watch it because like the shows are only like 36 minutes long. Like that's not.
But
It's not.
you already knew that though. Listen, let me ask you
I
something.
never interrupted you when you were talking.
Hey, but if you saw Marcel Jacobs on the street and you saw Noah Lyles on the street, who would you think is faster?
Shoot, maybe Marcel Jacobs.
That's what I'm saying.
So maybe,
Hmm.
maybe. But this is where I'm gonna go to. Like, I started liking it more and more, and I could see like what they're doing. I think I wanted more from I wanted more from the documentary, and I think we'll get more with the second season. But like, I wanted it just to go deeper. I felt like walking away from watching all of it, like a lot of the stuff I did learn. Like, I definitely learned more about Dennis Mitchell, and I learned more about even like Keisha Lyles, and like I learned more about them, but I want to learn like I want to hear from more about Lamont like Zarnell Hughes. I want to hear more about like the being a false Brit. Like I think that was a great story, but they only spent like 3 minutes on it. And just like I want to hear more about the stress of like I want to hear from Shakari's mom, and just like the when Shakari talks about sometimes I did get overwhelmed with like the media and the stress of everything. Like I actually want to like see that, or like see her talk about it. Like I want to see someone cry. Like that may seem like,
Yeah.
it's kind of evil for me, but from a documentary, like that's what you kind of get. You pull out like the emotional strings, and especially like
Mhm.
a Netflix documentary, like I want to see, and I want to learn more about this person personally before I can root for them more. I think the Jamaican stuff they did really well, building that rivalry, but still, like I think they could have went deeper to like. I
Yeah.
This is what I feel like, Alex, and tell me what you think. I feel like they did a great job of making these athletes seem superhuman, to make them seem really big and like larger than life track and field athletes. And that's great because there's not a lot of track and field athletes that are seen in that way, like being the same as like an NBA superstar and that type. But I think maybe it's somebody as a track and field purist, I guess now, or somebody that's just in the media. I want to see, and it's definitely just when I go watch documentaries, like I want to see I want the creator to make the athlete more human to me. And like I don't just want to see them larger than life. I want to see them human. And I think that's what I really wanted more from Sprint. But I did enjoy it. Like after watching all of it, I think you should watch it. There was people saying like, don't watch this, don't support it. Like that's dumb. Like you should watch it. You should support it. Give it the streams. You should recommend it to other people because it is
Yes.
fun. The last 2 episodes I think are really fun too. But
Mhm.
that's what I felt like. Yeah.
I would say I think you're right. I definitely like am thinking about the way that the athletes are portrayed, and people think about Olympians and they have this like initial reaction of just like, oh, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
But when we think about like the athletes on a day to day basis, like you and me, like we know they're just people,
Mhm.
and they're going, through the same stuff that we go through. I do agree with you. I wish that there was a little bit more time spent on, you know, the human side of the athlete, and I think that's something that I try to do really well is like, showcase the athlete off the track and like what they're doing, and like spend a little more time digging into the story. with as like, we don't know the nitty gritty details of like, when they signed, when Box to
Yeah.
Box like pitched this to Netflix, we don't know like how many episodes, like, maybe Netflix only gave them 6 episodes and they initially like wanted to do 12. 40 minutes is like a good amount of time, but like you fill up that fast, especially when you're trying to tell like a story throughout an entire season. Like the stuff I've been doing with Tar and Hunter recently, like we have we're running it back to Indoor World Champs. We got a short film, but it's like 30 some minutes long. It's like probably the equivalent of like an episode of Sprint, and it's just on Tara winning that world championship gold medal to kind of tee off the Olympic Games. And so like there's so much that I had to cut from that. And I can't imagine like having to make it feel like it's jumping around as much as like the creators had to. Cause gosh, I was there like at all these meets. Like you watch closely enough, you see my face pop in like in every single episode. I was like at, apart from like Jamaica, I was like at all these meets, and there's so much more that they could have dug into it, which is why like I'm excited that there is a season 2 coming along. And, now that they dipped their toes in the water, my hope is that, we'll get to see a little bit more of like the character development, coming off of like world champs and into the Olympic year. I think that's, there's a lot more to be like said about like the weight of it all. And I guess like the one big critique that I had is like at the end of episode 6, I guess I don't know if we're putting spoiler alerts in here, but like, Noah wins double. But
yeah. Spoiler alert. Like it's all good, man.
Yeah. We get all of our medalists, but like, I was hoping they would show like the 4x1s. They didn't show the 4x1s. It kind of just like, everybody got their medals and it like cut. And I understand the importance of like an abrupt cut in like, and that doing that in cinema like allows the big crescendo moment to keep its action and to keep its like its weight. But at the same time, I was like, I feel like I'm left hanging a little bit. Like there's no like now what, or like what's next to look forward to. And like I think that's important for, to keep the viewer like interested to like come back to something later on.
I wonder when the next season will be out.
Yeah.
Because it did kind of feel like a prequel in a way. Like it was very, like you guys said, surface. It was surface level, basic, taught you about some of track and field culture, how a season works, the little things that you just have to understand. And maybe that was purposeful because the Olympics are about to start. So you're going to follow these people in the Olympics. And then if they can get that out by like 2025 early, maybe you could grab people's attention again.
I think you gotta do it earlier. I think you gotta like nice. I think you gotta really capitalize on coming off of the Olympics. Like, people forget about the Olympics for 3 years until it happens again. So if you're not doing it, if you're not like hitting like a late fall, winter like release, like I don't know, you're gonna lose steam.
But I really feel like it was now looking at it, it feels like that season was a pilot almost, like the whole thing was a pilot. Maybe they didn't, like you said, Alex, like, well, I listened to Chris Chavez had, I think it was the creator or the founder of like Box to Box on there and talking about like, it was difficult to like, he didn't go into details, but saying it was kind of difficult to like get people on board and like get them to trust them or whatever. Cause like, even like Fred Curley like was on there and like, that's a big story. And we really only got to see Fred for like probably 8 minutes on screen, like the entire time.
Fred so much more.
Yeah. And like I just would like let's just spend the day at him on the farm and like literally just see him on the farm, and you can literally that could be inserted
that'd be dope.
Documentary, and like just the people who works on his farm. Like that's if we're doing a documentary, like I want to learn who works on his farm. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure there's some personalities there, but it seems like it may have been a pilot. I don't know what their deal is like on Netflix, and I'm not like a TV exec or whatever it is, but it could have been a pilot where like we just got to do 6 episodes, like 45 minutes max for each. And like, that's all you really got for this first season. And then let's go in more. So I'm hoping it will go in deeper, and I'm pretty sure it will, but man.
On the last day of trials, I met the Phil Turner, who I believe was a director for a series and is one of like the lead cinematographers for it. And had a really good, like, have had really good conversations with him, and like he's been on the ground in like all these different places, and I've seen him, seen him like get really into it. And we had a conversation on the last day of trials, like after everything was wrapped up, and I could tell there was that genuine excitement that when you meet another track fan, like
Yeah.
you just know.
Yeah.
And I felt like that spark like had really kindled in him like this past year. And so I think that's really exciting, that, we're like, as the creators of the series like are becoming like genuine track fans and are as like become more emotionally invested. I think like we're gonna see like a better product come out of
Mm.
it too.
No, that's interesting. That's interesting. A question I did want to know from y'all about the series before we move on is what was the most impactful part about the series that's giving you hope for track and field or just the series going forward? What did you see from it that was like the most impactful that giving you kind of hope going forward? Aaron, you can go, or Alex, whatever.
That's a good question. I mean, the fact that we're having a series is just a huge in general, but I don't know. I think it's almost like a double-edged sword because, like, Joshua, I think you make a good point that, like, oh, you wanted to see them be, the documentary made them seem bigger than life, more superhuman. Like, hey, these people are superstars, which I think is really important actually for people to understand that,
To
like,
establish that. Yeah.
Noah Lyles is a superstar. Like, he's people follow him around and they take pictures. People follow around Zarnell Hughes in UK and they take pictures. Like, these people are superstars, and you're gonna see that even more in the next season because they won. But I also liked some of the aspects where we did get to see them be human. They definitely could have went a little bit deeper, but I just liked seeing the relationships. I think I think for a fan watching that, I think it opens up the door for character development and maybe hopefully makes you like the questions you're having. I'm hoping that those are people are curious. At least did you get enough attention from the audience to make them curious? So the next time Sprint comes out, like remember when Last Chance U was coming out, like
Yeah.
like you're just like, oh, when Last Chance 2 comes out, I'm not trying to compare them, but like when the next one comes out, you remember, oh, that first one that was like fun, it was interesting. So like, I don't know. I feel like it's just setting up the next one in my opinion. So
Yeah,
Loki,
I definitely got to agree.
I think that's low key my downfall. I'm sorry, Alex, but like, because I really like Greg Whitley, bro, and like what he does on Last Chance U. I low key, after I finished Sprint today, I was watching the first episode of America's Sweethearts, the Dallas Cowboys, bro, and like, I don't know, that man really get the emotion out of people, and like maybe that's just what I be wanting sometimes. But go ahead, Alex.
No, I for sure agree. I think like we gotta play into that. Like, right, there's an importance there. I think, a moment that like I thought was like really key for the series was, the interactions that we got to see with like with Coach Dennis Mitchell and Sha'Carri.
yeah,
Like right before like that final, oh my gosh, like I got chills.
yeah, that
Like,
was fire.
those types of relationships, I think like, yeah, that's a person that like Sha'Carri trusts like with her life and like her entire career. And like, I think the interactions surrounding the athletes, who's on these people's teams that is like,
Yes.
continuing to do that. Like Noah Lyles with his mom. Like, I think playing into that more is something that I want to see more of. And I've been privileged to like be around athletes at a very intimate level, and I get to see like, how these different teams look for different people. And is it family? Is it like the coaches? Is it like the PTs? You know, some athletes like travel with these people like full time, and
Mm-hmm.
that I think like there's so much there that can like still be dug further into.
No, that Dennis Mitchell part, I seen that and I was like, oh dang, I gotta steal that one. I gotta steal that one. Like if I coach again, bro, like I'm gonna ask you a question, but don't answer me.
That was
Answer me
cold.
on the track. He said,
Yeah, you gotta show me.
who's the
Show me, yeah.
fastest? I was like, oh shoot, that
It
was
was
hard,
cold, dude.
bro. That
Yeah.
was
Dennis Mitchell was definitely my favorite. Yeah, he killed it. Yeah. And then when he was talking to his wife, bro, come on
yeah.
now.
Mhm.
You had to tear up a little bit. That was fire. That
Yeah.
was fire.
like if you coached anyone before or just like had a coach that you're that close with, like yeah, that definitely hit you. That definitely hit you there. Just that whole relationship. It was dope. I'm excited for Sprint. I'm excited to see like what they're gonna do next, and yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And I hope to. I haven't been seeing a lot of it on social media, but hopefully we start to see a little bit more, especially with the Olympics going around. And there's a lot. There's a big opportunity where like for a couple months where like it could still be popular and it's still relevant at this time for real.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
we can move on from Sprint now. Let's talk about Alex Andrei, bro. Alex and Track on the
I
podcast.
wanted to say this. I wanted to
Oh,
say this,
go ahead. My
man.
bad. My bad.
Yeah, we as we move out for spring, bro. Alex Andre, bro. This dude was banned from the mix zone for creating the State of the Sport documentary, and now they're out here creating documentaries on Sprint. Man, I wanted to just say your come up has been amazing, bro. It's been so awesome. You've been blessed, bro. I've been so awesome just watching your come up. But like, I guess I'll just ask you right now. How do you feel about the state of the sport now? Now they're releasing
Well,
documentaries. How does that make you feel? Like just in like,
somebody, I forget who it was. It might have been one of the guys from like Bell App, that asked me. I put something up on my story, that I said like back in 2021, I naively believed like I could change, you know, um, the direction of storytelling in the sport like through like my creations. And he asked me like, so do you feel like you did that? And I was like, that's a crazy question to like be able to like look back on and like have an answer. Just like, at the very least, I feel like, um, not just myself, but like myself along with like this new generation of like creators, like you
yeah,
guys like as well, like being a part of that. Like I feel like we really have pushed the envelope and like forced change to happen and like inspired other things to like have the ability to have momentum. Like
yeah,
just because like the projects I was trying to pull off in like 2021 like didn't fly, didn't have the momentum, like doesn't mean like it didn't change things. And I truly believe like we are moving in the direction that is going to grow the sport. And Sprint is a product of that. Like you know, however many layers removed it is from me, whatever. But like it's really cool to see it happen because it means that more is on the way. If Sprint is where we're starting, like in the mainstream, let's go. Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like that's a great place to like really like kick it off. I feel like it's only going to bring more attention now, and like I'm excited for like myself. I have like so many ideas that are just like stirring in my head and things that I want to work with athletes on. And I don't know. I'm just excited, man. I'm excited as I was in 2021, and yeah, that's really it.
Yeah. It, I think no matter, especially like with this new crop of like media, whatever we do, like a lot of it can make an impact, even though we may not even see the result of it, you know? Like we never know who's watching. You never know like who's taking inspiration from what you're doing. And they may not even realize that like they may not even realize and you may never even realize that they took inspiration kind of from you in a way. But like, or even just the fact of you applying that pressure could have like opened the door for something else.
yep,
Like it is kind of wild. That's why it is always, especially I think as a creator, to take those risks and like try something because like you never know what the reception you're gonna get. But if you're fully passionate in what you do and love it, then there's a purpose in definitely doing it. But I want to talk about 2021 and just like what was the urge to like pick up a camera and like the to just start taking pictures and video? Like, what was the urge to even do that back then?
Yeah. So back then I was just Coach Alex. That's what the IG handle was. It was I coached middle school kids and like while I was in college. And I had so much fun doing that. And I came from a background of like always like dabbling in like Premiere Pro and like filming vlogs on my phone. I was a Casey Neistat kid, like through and
Mhm.
through. And just always had a desire to like, make videos that were just like fun and lighthearted. And when I started coaching, like, you know, at the same time, I had like friends who were competing collegiately and, are now professional like athletes in their own right. Like one of my like Abby Steiner and I were on the same high school team. Like Lucas Bonds, who was just a Olympic trial semifinalist in the 1500. We were on the same like high school team. Tadeo Latoya just made the Olympics for Nigeria in the hammer throw, all on the same track team. So I had a lot of athletes like come out of my school, like in my like one grade above me or below me, that were just like these crazy athletes. And I like I started following collegiately and then professionally. Like I started making connections with how the sport worked. And with my kids, like I wanted them to be like, to have some inspiration, in their sport. Like these 7th and 8th grade kids like needed athletes to look up to, like, just like a football kid does, or just like a basketball kid does. So I like was reaching out to athletes to like, just record videos on their phone, and I would stitch them together and I make a video about like, time management as like a pro athlete versus a collegiate athlete, and like show them it's not that different. Like all the same things still apply. And so it came from like a teaching type of, mindset to, well, I want to know more about their stories. And, I was working night shifts at a children's hospital as a pediatric mental health specialist. And I was journaling about like just track and field and like the state of the sport, like in my head. This is 2021, February, meets aren't happening. COVID is still like having things locked down, indoor season is like scrapped. And, one of the first meets on the calendar pops up, the Texas qualifier from Trials and Miles, like to, put on so that athletes can get qualifying times to like make the trials. And, a $40 Spirit Airlines plane ticket and a couch at my friend's place in Austin, made that trip happen. I was, I looked at the heat sheets and that week, and I sent emails to athletes, to agents that, I just found online. I DM'd a bunch of people, and I made myself sound a lot more professional than I was. I can tell you that much. But, being able to like see that like these athletes were responding, and I was like, people are saying yes to like do these interviews with me. And I'm just like, oh, this is accessible.
Yeah.
And it still is. Like it still is super accessible, like as a professional sport. And, after that meet, I came home. I booked 2 more trips. Like I was going to Portland Track Fest. I was going to New York City, and doing all this on my own dime, just for fun, just to like, share these stories about these athletes. And that's what kind of turned into like state of the sport. But like that, it fueled a fire in me. Just like, I can tell these stories too. Like I can have an impact. And I truly believe that. And like, it wasn't about like, I didn't want to be, I was pre-med. I was like, I didn't want to be like a videographer or like a, creator, but like it became my outlet to like share these stories.
No, that's awesome. I love the passion, the genuine passion, and just almost like you did it one time and you're like, yo, I gotta continue.
I got hooked.
Yeah, you're like, I gotta continue following this.
Wait, do you want to go back to do pre-med? Like, or do you want to finish that, or are you?
I mean,
like, go ahead.
So I graduated. I got my degrees in like biology, and then I got a secondary degree in exercise physiology. And that's kind of where like I was like, all right, time to apply to med school. And as I was like figuring everything out for that, that's when I started picking up the camera and, starting to take a chance on this stuff, and it kept getting postponed. But one of these days, I think my interests were always in like research, more so research. I would love at some point in my life, I don't know if it's when I'm 40, 50, 35, who's to say, love to do like sports performance research, like dream job, put me in the Nike Sports Performance Research Lab. Like, but that's also like, is that still my dream job? I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know it'd be really sick to do at some point.
Yeah, I can see you doing it.
No, yeah. I could see it. I could see it too. So like from that time of 2021, you just went, because you knew a little bit about Premiere Pro, but like you make pretty dope like edits and like stuff. And like they kind of like learn that so fast, where you just like heavy on the YouTube, just like let me
YouTube University.
just YouTube University. Let me try to, if you just like, would you like envision it in your head and just like, how can I do this? And then type in YouTube how to or something like that.
Exactly that. Like I knew what I was trying to make, and I knew the product that I like in my head. Like I literally see visions of, what an edit can look like or what a transition can look like. Um, it's why like, a lot of people have shot lists. I don't operate too much on shot lists because I think it through my head and like it just sticks.
Hmm.
Um, I'm just weird like that. But like I know the final product, and it was just a mission of like taking the steps to like understand, how do I put this puzzle together? Like I already have the puzzle pieces here. I just need to know, you know, where do I start? Like which corner should I start with? Like which side, you know, figuring it out from there.
That's wild. I ask all these questions too because I think a lot of people come on listen to the podcast because they follow you and like the work that you've done and the people that you've worked with. And I'm pretty sure the number one thing you get asked is like, what advice would you want to give to like a creator, to like someone in your
Yeah.
position? But like when I think about you, Alex, like I'm pretty sure you get that question a lot, but I feel like there's like three parts of you of just what my thinking of it that like have made you this creator. I'm gonna share these with you, and then you could. This is like a loaded question, so you could take it
I'm
wherever you
excited.
want. But like, it seems like you're super creative and like talented. Like, there's no doubt about that. Like, you're extremely creative and talented. Like, there's a part of you where like the stuff that you put out, like people like there's no doubt about it, but then there's also like the risk taker part of it. Like this man take risk, like
Yeah.
risk financially to do a $40
I'm just
spirit.
gonna fly out to New York.
Yeah, that's a risk
Yeah.
financially, but the risk physically too.
Oh
Like
my gosh.
that will
Oh my
go
gosh.
go beyond of all like my heart is jacked up, and but like I'm still going to go to this thing. But then also like this dude's like a great person, and like
Genuine soul.
yeah, the story I never heard someone say something bad about Alex Andrei. So like just like
Let's go.
of like those being creative, being a risk taker, and then being like a genuine person that you're able to connect with others, like kind of speak on those three things. If I think that's gonna help someone really realize like this is what you gotta do to like get to the place where you are now, and just like what are some things that we need to add on to this list of to try and get to where you are.
Man, that's a fun list to hear. I think that's pretty spot on. um, let's see. I'll start with the first one. I took a lot of financial risks to do what I am doing right now. I all of 2021, like I started doing this in February 2021. I didn't make a dime off of any track and field content until December of 2021 when I won that in stadium
Oh
like film
yeah.
fest
Wow.
that Charles and Miles and Celia Athletics did. And I'm pretty like
We were there.
I I'm
Yeah, we
pretty sure
were.
I say this because like I'm pretty sure like I won that just because I had more friends in the stands.
And I voted
But
for you.
Oh
yeah,
yeah, we just rose our hand, bro. We just put our
that
hand
was
up.
that was $500,
Let's
and
go.
that was after I did doing my taxes that next year. I figured out like all these expenses like added up to like over $10,000 that I spent of money that I was working making these doing these night shifts. That was just like money that I wasn't like I didn't see it as investing in myself. I saw it as like I'm spending this money on track, and
Yeah.
it's gonna come back to me because I love what I'm doing. Um, like I wasn't trying to make money doing it. I started working with Clayton Murphy in the beginning of 2022. And that relationship, developed into one where, he was like, I was able to like quit my job because like him and Ari like let me move in with them. Like another financial risk. I wasn't like really I was like, I'm under the poverty line. Like I'm not making like you know, I was under the poverty line. I wasn't making like money doing that, but it was enough to like get me by. And I had a lot of trust.
Mhm.
Um, and I still do. I just have a ton of trust that, what I'm doing is worthwhile and like it's important. And that was the biggest thing for me. I was going to let everything else figure itself out. On the other side of it, oh yeah, I put my body through some like physically demanding times. um, I don't know. I guess you're probably referring to like when I was in the hospital for 5 days after Budapest.
Yeah, bro.
Had a virus almost a still unknown mystery virus. The Cleveland Clinic never found out what virus I had. But yeah, I definitely like am a little bit extreme in like how I approach what I'm doing, just because I know opportunities are limited, and I want to maximize opportunities in the sport because like my dad always says this like my dad says like you're good at what you do because you know it's not gonna have like you're not gonna have another chance. And like, like 2024 Olympic trials is never gonna happen again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Ed Murphy Classic this weekend or this next weekend is never gonna happen again. It's gonna be a one and done event. And like I really believe like we gotta maximize every single opportunity that like we have because it's a unique experience that we'll never get again. So I'm fine with putting my body on the line for whatever it is I'm diving headfirst into. What was that last part you said?
Oh, you're like just a great
Great person.
person. Yeah, you're
Oh,
like
I
the
so I think
relationships that you build though, like
yeah. I mean, I came into sport in 2021 and like I had this random chance encounter with like Craig Engels back in like 2019 for something I did with Nike back in college. But like I didn't know anybody in the sport. Like I didn't know any creators. And like I knew a couple photographers that I followed and I like saw on a pedestal compared to like anything I was doing, but I didn't know anybody. And that's why it was really important for me to like go and show up places
mhm,
and like allow myself out to like these random little meets is because like I wanted to meet these people, like, and I wanted to build relationships because I wanted friends in the sport. And I get really excited when somebody like asks me about, how do you get to like where you get to, or like ask me about like specific advice that they would give me in their situation. Cause like I might not be able to provide like specific advice from my experiences, but like, let's talk through it. I'm excited about like other people being excited about track and field. Like I think it's as simple as that. And um, I'm also really like I don't know if the word is like I'm like an empath. Like I care really deeply for my friends, and
mhm,
I love really hard. And you know that's a blessing and a curse, especially like in a week like Olympic trials. Like I was an emotional wreck, like up and down, like the whole time. It was like it's super hard for me, but I get really excited for people, and I think that's just a big part of it. It's just like I love people super. I try to love people super well, and um, I feel like there's room to grow in the sport. I don't want to keep anybody out of it.
yeah, yeah. I think a lot of it seems a lot of that is like a lot of the reasons why you got into the sport was like because like you love track and field and you want to see it like grow, and it was like I think a big reason why like you create such great stuff because it's not your primary goal isn't to be like the biggest creator or like I don't even think is it really even to be like the best creator even like it seems like it's kind of just like create the best content that I it's like because originally it was just like to get the best content for my kids. It's like you're
Yeah,
doing what
Yeah.
you're doing is a service, and like at the end of the
yeah,
day, I think for a lot of great creators, it's like doing something that's a service instead of like self-pleasing to like you is I think that's when you can make like some great art in a way.
yeah. I think if it was for me, like if I was really doing it for myself, I would be. Yeah, I low key like barely post on my page. Like you go through my Instagram and there's like maybe like 6 or 7
Yeah.
posts that date back to like August of last year, and that's just because like people are telling me to like put more stuff out there. But um, I guess like speaking into that, like I get stressed out in posting on my own page because I feel like it's when I do that, I'm neglecting like an opportunity to like finish work for somebody else.
Mhm.
And that's like a psychological thing I'm trying to work through. But like I feel bad about like, posting on my own page when, there's something I could be doing for somebody else. Um, uh, yeah, my goal with my content is for it to be the best content out there, but not because I want to be successful. It's because I want to hear back from an athlete. Like Tar to like watch back this like documentary film about herself and feel like she is just like watching a work of art.
Yeah.
Like I want people to like be able to relive experiences through a unique lens that, you know, isn't like necessarily accessible. Like I want to share like these deep moments within the sport with other people. And there's definitely like content that I make that isn't always serving that purpose, but it is a means to get to be able to do the stuff that I really want to do. So you got to do
No.
some of that as well to kind of make it work along the way, I think.
Yeah, I love it. And I like how, Joshua, you threw it back to how it kind of started with teaching kids. And it's always been about really about just having an impact. You look at what you did with State of the Sport, and everything you said just about telling stories. And I think it's important to hear that coming from you, because I think a lot of people don't really see that there's different pathways to get to different places, right? But you're someone who's not posting a lot. You don't got like 100K followers. But if someone was to ask me, like, everybody know who Alex and Track is, and if someone was to ask me about you, you're like one of the most successful creators from this new media class that is out there. So I think it's really important for people to see you and see what you're doing. So I'm happy that we can have you on this podcast. And I wanted to also ask you just about, like, you have so much faith. You have so much faith in what you're doing. And I think that energy is really what attracts a lot of people around you, because you have faith and kindness. I wanted to hear more about your parents. You quit pre-med, bro. You went to
That's
school
kind
for
of wild.
biology
What was that
and
conversation like?
stuff. And you just like, you living and you doing the van life, you sleeping
Yeah.
on couches, but you're doing really great right now. I'm still, you killing it now. But what was that like initially?
So for people that don't know, I'm actually a Romanian immigrant. So
Mm.
I got an immigrant family. Um, that means I got immigrant parents
Oh.
who thought for a very long time, my kid's going to med school.
Yeah.
and so
Come on, you crushed their dreams.
No, that's
and so
crazy.
I threw a massive wrench into that, like, as I was finishing college. Um, my brother's a genius. Like, he's got his PhD in history. He's over here doing incredible stuff. Like, he's super dialed into his academics, and I'm over here bouncing off walls, like doing 15 things at once, and like trying to live like 10 different lives at the same time. And like, it worried them. Like, they were genuinely worried. Like, my dad has sat me down on so many different occasions and just like talked to me about, like, like, what are your priorities? Like, what do you want to do? Like you can't, like, how is this going to be sustainable? And on from my mom's side, like, she's just like, she's worried about me. Like, are you eating? Can you like pay your rent? Like, are you
Mom,
safe?
keep on telling this boy to eat though.
I'm eating now.
Okay.
But like, it was really hard for them to like kind of see it and like see what I was seeing. And I'm back at my parents' house right now for a week before I go to Paris, just to spend some time with them. And um, my mom said this to me. We were just talking about, like, the fact that I was going to Paris, and she said, a couple years ago you were talking about like going to the Olympics, like, as like, I don't know if it was like I was a fan or something else how I said it, but like, I was talking about LA 2028. And
Mm-hmm.
she's like, I feel really bad to tell you this, but I was like, no, you're not. I was like, Mom, have some faith. And then she was like, no, I trusted you, but reality, like, it's just like, how do you make this work? And I'm like, yeah, I get it. But I'm very, very blessed to have very loving parents that, have supported like my dreams, and like, yes, have been like super strict about like, whatever you're gonna do, you better be like damn good at it.
Mhm.
And that was instilled in me from like very young age. And so, yeah, very lucky to, have a great support system that is like always checking in on me and making sure that I'm good. But it was a tough sell, I can tell you that much.
No, that's wild. That's wild. I have a question. what was the last time like you had like a pinch me moment where, because you've done like a lot of stuff, especially over the last year, where like when you did like photos for Team USA and like your photography, why can't I talk, shooting Nigel Houston and stuff, I was
Mhm.
like, dang, that's crazy. Like just like the thought of that, just from someone that was just doing track and field and now you're shooting Nigel Houston. But like, when was the last time you had like a pinch me moment where it's like, dang, I can't believe like I'm here. Like this is
Man, last week, bro, going to trials
yeah.
and having my like video rig ready, and I was like, I had a whole support team with me. Like we had a bunch of people from like Team USA there, obviously for all different kinds of purposes, but like it was a first event where like we got like the opportunity to like bring along like I recommended like Xavier Gallo to, come along with me. And we're both Columbus boys, but like beyond that, like he's a super talented young guy that
Mhm.
like, I wanted to have along with me to like help me out. And it's the first time I was like, everybody else that was there from Team USA, like wasn't like, didn't know much about track. And so I was like,
Yeah. Oh, you're like directing.
yo, yeah, yeah. I was like, yo, I'm kind of the lead person here. And it
That's
was like,
fire.
there was a lot of responsibility like on like my shoulders, and like it was hard, but it was really cool. It was very rewarding to be able to like go through that week, 10 days, 2 weeks, but and just be like, I feel like I still didn't get I didn't squeeze everything out of
Mhm.
myself as I could have. And like I wrote, like after meets, like I journal, or opportunities like this, I journal about stuff that I could have done better. And like one thing that I journaled about was like, I feel like there's room to grow, and in the ability to like help direct people and like help take responsibility for, when stuff doesn't get done like in the time that it needs to be. And, you know, that was another, yeah, that was, yeah. So I guess to answer your question, like last week, like it's still setting in, that like
Yeah.
trials happen.
It's like you level, it's a crazy in life. Like you level up without knowing you're leveling up. You're like,
Mhm.
oh, shoot. Like I have like I have managerial director experience, but at the same time, you're like, oh, I've been building myself up to be in this position. And
For
now I'm,
sure.
now I'm just here. Like, oh, okay, let's go. Like, what?
Dude,
Um,
yeah, it's crazy to think about. And like even 2 days ago when I was like making this post about going to Paris, and like I've been keeping it pretty quiet, just like with my inner circle. But like dropping that news and like seeing how many people were like excited for me, like that melted my heart.
Yeah.
Like, and like that made Paris like feel real.
No, yeah, that's dope. That's dope. But before I got a couple. I have like one more question before we get you out of here too, because you worked in like so many other sports. What's something that you've learned working outside of track and field that like you really want to bring into this sport, either like creatively or just in some other aspect? But what's something that you've learned and tried out that you want to bring to the sport?
Ooh, it's a good question. Yeah. I guess one thing that like I've seen is just like almost like reversing that is like I think we can pull off a lot bigger productions like within track and field with not as many people as we feel like we like need to. I've been on like sets of like big promo productions, and like there's the Universal, like at Universal Studios in Hollywood, like last November when I got to shoot with Nija, like that was a big like I don't think I'm allowed to say the number, but like that was a big investment like on that production
Yeah.
set for like Team USA to like put into like shooting all this content. And I just, coming out of that and like all these different sports that I got to see, like, we can do a lot more with not as much as like we think. Like, and I think just like seeing how much money gets like invested into stuff, like I feel like I really do believe that like you don't need that much money in the sport to make incredible things happen. Um, just the investment of the people that really care about it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of what I would say is like I've seen stuff that happens outside of the sport, and I feel like track and field has been like a little scared to get into like some of the bigger stuff, even like sprint, for example. Like I'm sure that costed a lot of money, but like, you know, I look at some of the stuff that like I've been able to be a part of, and it's pretty lean productions, and we can make some good stuff happen. Like we can make a shake.
Yeah.
So I think like what I've seen from outside of the sport, it's challenged me to like take on bigger projects and, you know, put my own money like where my mouth is. Like I want to like this next year, like coming off of the Olympics, like I want to take direction of projects. I want to be like funding things myself and investing it back into the sport to make the things that like I really believe in. That's like I feel like the next step.
I agree with you like wholeheartedly. Just the fact of I think it really is like the interest, you know, like how much that entity has like an interest in like trying to make this and grow the sport like bigger. It's not necessarily about the funding and what the money is. Like if you have like a good person that's directing it and they're creative, like you can make something dope. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, but some
For sure.
people like in certain positions, like they don't have or just a corporation doesn't have like that exact interest or not that exact same interest um every single year, you know, because the
Mhm.
Olympics, but like you have to make everything important. So, but I think Aaron, you
Yeah.
want to say something too?
I don't know if I should say this on here, but I'm gonna
I
say
know, like
this.
everyone's gonna listen to this because Alex is on it, so I'm kind of scared. Like, you
I
feel
don't know
me?
if I want
Like,
to say this on here, but hey, I'm just gonna say it because we out here trying to make impacts, bro. Alex, could you write a book, bro?
Dude.
Could you write a book about the rise? Because if track and field pops off like we plan it to pop off,
Mhm.
someone needs to tell this story from like this media, like our perspective, starting from like 2020, 2021. Like I have like a lot of stuff on this podcast when me and Joshua were talking about some of the changes we anticipated. But I was thinking about that the other night, but I feel like you could write you're like in the thick of it. I think that I would read that. Like younger me would read that for sure.
Dude, maybe a book, maybe a documentary.
Hey,
What do you
hey,
know? What do you
the documentary
think?
could, I mean, yeah, where are we at with state of the sport right now?
Coming off of the for people, for people that don't know, it kind of got me barred from getting credentialed at like at USA's in 2021 and Worlds in 2022, and uh, it's been on the back burner. That project has been on the back burner just because of trying to uh,
Yeah,
I guess
doing
repair some relationships that are very important to have as a creator in the sport. I can leave it at that, but it's uh it's still the story's still being told.
you could flip it into something. You could flip it into another type of documentary. Because
Just yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. There's opportunity like over this next 4 years. Like I think there is a lot of that footage that will be used.
oh,
So
sneak peek.
I'm excited. There's a super trailer out there in the world that if people want to click on, they can watch from a couple years ago. But aside from that, I've always got something going on. So stay busy.
There we go. There we go. Alex Andre, thank you for coming on the podcast, man. Like, if y'all want to see this dude's work, follow him on Instagram, Alex and Track. If you want to see his work, just like follow Team USA low key. Like, shoot.
that's him. That's our boy.
That's if that video is probably Alex, bro. So
It's
I
50
would
50 shot. Yeah.
50-50. It's a coin flip. It's a coin flip at this point. We appreciate you though so much for coming on, bro. Best of luck and Paris. Be safe out there for those 2 months. Aaron, you got anything else before we get out of here?
Nah, man. Just appreciate you coming on. It was long overdue.
I appreciate you guys a ton. Y'all are amazing for the sport, and I'm just stoked to be amongst you.
Hey, thank you. We'll see y'all next week. Let's get it.